Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, on my co-host, Eddie Richard, and we are back after Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a good holiday weekend. We're going to cover the Ducks. They finally got a regulation win. So some positive news there. Then obviously some more losses, unfortunately. So we'll go into all those and cover those. And Pat Verbeek went on Ducks Stream and talked about the team. And he also talked to the media the day after that. So we're going to cover a lot of that. Kind of go over the season, the first quarter, if you will. Some more trade stuff floating out there that we'll discuss. And talk about tons of fan questions to get to as well. So plenty of stuff to cover on this show. But before we do that, Eddie, how was your Thanksgiving break?
It was a little low-key. I've been going out every weekend. The Vegas trip took a lot out of me. It was just going crazy in Vegas the week before. So I just kind of took the time, took the advantage of being off work, and just pretty much stood home and did absolutely nothing. Had a nice little Thanksgiving dinner with my mom and my stepdad, and he was nice enough to help me fix my drywall. If you guys listened to the last show, I had that tumble and fell down and big ass hole in the wall. I'm trying to find someone to fix it. We had our maintenance guy. He said he was going to come and get it done for us, and then he went MIA. No one can find him, but he's kind of a drunk, so we think he got some law trouble, or who knows what happened to him. But yeah, my stepdad was nice enough to take Thanksgiving and come over to my house and help me fix it. Well, he pretty much did 95% of the work. I just applied the paint. So that was pretty good. But yeah, I spent the time just doing nothing, and it felt good. I had an itch to write on Thanksgiving Day, so I took my laptop upstairs and hung out with my buddy, his son, his dad, and just typed away on the trade rumors article and had a good time and played video games, my hockey game, and Days Gone. I've been playing. If you guys play games, I'm not a big gamer, but Days Gone's a zombie game. Was pretty cool. Yeah, I just spent the time just recharging my batteries, and it felt good. And then Sunday, Mike was nice enough to give me 2 tickets to the Ducks game against Seattle. That was really fun. I went there, and that's kind of rounded off my weekend and then the work week. How about yours, Mike? How did you? Hopefully, it was fun.
Yeah, actually, I went out of town and visited some family in Arizona, so that's where I spent my weekend. I still caught all the games and watched them and whatnot. All these, I didn't go to them, but obviously you went to the one against Seattle, and I didn't go to the New York or Ottawa one, but watched those, and we'll break those down here in just a second. So did that. Also went to Vegas for one day, just kind of spur of the moment, and came back. I wasn't sure if I was going to get back in time for that game against Seattle, so that's why I figured you take the tickets and go. And I actually did make it back in time, but I just wasn't really sure with the holiday travel and coming back on Sunday with the weekend. I didn't want to be stressed out trying to rush back and make it, and then something happened. So yeah, it was good. It was low key, just a small amount of family that we hung out and had a good time. And same thing, like you said, it kind of took some time off of work and recharged a little bit, and now I'm back in it. So.
Yeah. Mike, since you mentioned Vegas, I don't know if you saw the odds that were recently posted by NHL, but the Ducks are at 30,000 to 1 to win the Pacific Division. Meaning, if you bet $100, you can potentially win $30,000.
Yeah,
I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't take that bet though. Use that $100 and buy like 2 beers at Honda Center, but don't bet on the Ducks to win the Pacific.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't take that bet, and yeah, I'd save the money so I could pay those expensive beers at Honda Center.
That we're gonna keep crying about every show, but then we're gonna buy them every game. So
yeah, it is what it is. It's part of the entertainment, right, when you're there. So, but yeah, I mean, the good thing with the Ducks this last week is they finally got a regulation win. They had the Rangers come to town. The Rangers have been playing pretty decent this season. The Ducks. They played a solid 40 minutes against New York. They had a 3-2 lead. You had McTavish getting a goal, Terry getting a goal, even Kulikov getting in there with a goal, and things look good. Then they kind of went to a shell in that third period where they were outshot 17-2. And, they had to rely on the goalie there to pull this one out. But Gibson was true to the task in that third period, and the Ducks were able to pull this out. And they avoided that Coyotes record of 2017 and 18, Eddie.
Yeah, I think as much as I want to give all the credit to the Ducks, it wasn't just that. The Rangers have been playing poorly as of late. Halak is still yet to secure a win, and he let in the first goal. Obviously, 100% should have been saved. Second one was kind of questionable, but he let in some bad goals that kind of helped the Ducks get their first regulation win, and then Gibson did the rest, hitting on his head. Shesterkin, too, after the last loss the other night, said that the goalie's playing like shit. And if you guys know who he is, he's their all-star Vezina Trophy goalie. And they just haven't been playing well at all, the Rangers, and the Ducks capitalized on that. So it was a really good, thankful thing to have a first regulation win before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, if you wanted something for Thanksgiving to be thankful for, it was the Ducks getting a regulation win and not tying that record. And you're right, the Rangers played well for the beginning of the season, but you're right, as of late they have not played as well. So the Ducks were able to squeeze that one out and get a 3-2 win and avoid tying that 20 game without a regulation win streak that the Coyotes had. So good game overall. Like I said, the Ducks didn't play that great in the third period. Gibson bailed them out, and they were able to pull off the win. And you kind of thought, okay, well, maybe the Ducks will build some momentum. They'll go into that Black Friday game that they have every year, at noontime. And, it didn't really go the way that we thought. Beaulieu did come back. Remember, he had hurt his arm, so he was back in this game. Klingberg was out with a lower body injury, and he's still been out. We'll talk a little bit about that later in the show. But I was kind of surprised. Stolar started in this game. I thought Gibson would have started because of the way he played, especially at the end of that game against the Rangers, but instead they put Stolarz in. The Ducks had some chances early in this game. They had some power plays and stuff, could not convert, and then the Ottawa started scoring goals and whatnot after that, and it just kind of fell apart after that. They gave up a power play goal. They gave up a late goal at the end of the first period. And then another power play goal in the second period. And next thing you knew, they were down 4-0, and they just couldn't recover in this one, Eddie. And it's just unfortunate. You thought that they had some momentum after beating New York, but any of that momentum they had, it was really taken out, especially in the second period of this game.
Hey, and I think they ate too much for Thanksgiving, or maybe their Thanksgiving hangover or something. I have no idea what was going on in this game. It was just a big shit show. One thing I forgot to do, and I wanted to do before this show, I wanted to go back and see all the Black Friday games and get in a record. I think I wrote an article a couple seasons ago, and they're all-time record about their Black Friday games. So I wanted to go ahead and do that, which I forgot to do. I've been busy lately, but yeah. What was surprising too is Stützle didn't get any supplemental discipline after him hitting the butt end of the stick. I believe it was Kulikov hit in the face.
Benoit.
Benoit. Yeah, it's dude, come on, not to get any supplemental discipline for that. Cogliano was suspended for way less, and nothing goes. I do want to acknowledge the Strome and Tkachuk fight. Strome, I think he brought it upon himself. That was a dangerous play. I think it was out of frustration that he just let his emotions get to him. The wires got crossed, and he did that dangerous play and cross-checking the player with his numbers to him. I give him respect, though, because he answered the bell. You can see him talking to Tkachuk. It's all right, well, it's he knows he has to answer the bell. He knows that's the code of hockey. Tkachuk's a tough customer, probably one of my favorite players in the league, just the way he plays. He unfortunately got his ass beat, but you know what? At least he was man enough to answer the call. He knew that he had to do it, and that's the respect I have to give him as a player. And that's it. It's done is done. He made a mistake. He answered it, and there's no more animosity toward it. So that's one thing of the code in hockey I really love about.
Yeah, I'm with you. The way that went down, you could tell too after Strome did the play, he's dang it. He kind of was
and he was you could tell he mentioned something to Tkachuk, really, dude, come on, and he's oh, you know what, let's just go.
Yeah, exactly, and you're right. He still did go. I mean, he didn't do well in the fight, but I mean, he did give it a go. So that happened in there. That was a little bit interesting. And I'm with you. The thing with Stützle, I was kind of surprised the Ducks only got a 2-minute power play. I don't know if the refs just thought it was just the glove and not the end of the stick. And then player safety was asleep Thanksgiving weekend because they didn't do any kind of fines or hearings or anything during that weekend. They were just eating turkey too, I guess. I don't know what Peros and player safety were doing over the Thanksgiving break, but
I think Perros was more focused on Colorado's game, seeing if Cogliano was going to headshot anyone or something like that. But yeah, it's like I said, it was good to see him drop the gloves, and there's been pretty good scraps this season. I don't know, Mike, you posted the one about Jamie Benn and Josh Manson. Delorier had one against Marcus Pedersen. Two former Ducks that went at it. It's pretty cool. We saw what was last night. I know you didn't see it, but there was a fan fight at the Avalanche and Winnipeg game, and I guess two fans were getting escorted by security out, but they were like having some altercation, and a Winnipeg fan jumped in the mix and grabbed the guy and put him in a headlock. Ended up getting slammed down the boards and cut his head and stuff like that. He's okay. Those two fans got kicked out and charged, but there's no short of fights in the league this year, so it's good to see. I just wish the Ducks had a little bit more fight in them, and I don't want to see players like Strome getting into a fight, or Terry or Zegras. I know Zegras has been kind of fired up some of the games and has been in players' faces, but I don't want to see players like that get into fights. But I'm really glad that Strome did answer the bell, but I want to see more of the fight from the Ducks. I want that nastiness to come back from the Ducks. Like, yeah, I know they're a bottom feeder team, but hey, you're not going to walk all over us.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that we'll talk about Verbeek too later on when he talked about the Ducks. He kind of goes into some of that too in their play and the lack of consistency and different things like that. So I'll save that discussion. But you're right, I like to see that too more in this game. The only other thing I thought was funny in this game is that Jones scored late in the game to break the shutout. And then Ottawa had the audacity to actually challenge the call. And I'm like, really? Like, you guys are winning 5-0. Are you really that concerned about the shutout? So, I don't know. I don't know why Ottawa challenged it. Maybe they're still sore from 2007, Eddie. I don't know. Funny story about that. I think I mentioned this on the show before, but I went to Universal Studios a couple years ago, and there were a bunch of fans, hockey fans. I was in this group. We did a VIP tour, and everybody in the group was hockey fans. There was like people from the East Coast, people from Europe, and then there was one couple from Ottawa, right? And as soon as I mentioned being a Ducks fan, they just got all like sore, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, well, the Ducks, this, and that." And I was just like, "Wow!" And this was probably, I don't know, 2017 or 18 or something like that. I'm like, you guys are, 10 years later, you're still this sore about it? I'm like, okay. So I don't know. I had to throw that out there because to me, I just thought that was extremely lame. I don't know. Like you already were kicking the Ducks' butt. You got away with that hit on Benoit from Stützle too. I don't know. I just, to me, if the Ducks were up 5-0, the other team scored a goal, even if the Ducks did that, I'd be like, what are you guys doing? Like, I don't know. That's just how I felt about that, Eddie.
Yeah, it was kind of like a big FU to the Ducks, but they're probably sore that. But you know what? I kind of understand because I played goal. I tried to play goalie. I'm terrible at it, but I think it's important for goalies to get that shutout. So I think they just did it more for Cam Talbot just to get that shutout. But you know what? Still a good goal. It counted. And that was probably pissed off a lot of Ottawa fans, but still, at least we got one. We didn't get shut out completely blanked, so that was kind of cool. At least someone came to play to put the puck in the back of the net, and a little Black Friday special for the Senators to send them home.
Yeah, exactly. One little parting gift at the end there. So, but yeah, overall disappointing game. Unfortunately, the Ducks, I thought they played decent in the first period, but, a couple late goals turned the tide there, and then they just couldn't recover in the second period. So, unfortunately, they ended up losing, bad on the scoreboard on there. And then they continued the homestand against Seattle on Sunday, which is the game that you went to. Like I said, Klingberg is still out. We had Grant came back from the IR, but then Comtois went on the IR. Vakanainen was recalled from his long-term conditioning loan, which was one game in San Diego, and he did not play in this one. But this one was a fun game, Eddie. You were there. Seattle took the lead 2-0. The Ducks fought back. You had Terry scoring a goal, then they were down 3-1. They fought back from that. They were down 4-2, and the Ducks ended up getting a couple power play goals late in the second period, making it 4-4. And then, unfortunately, Shattenkirk runs into Gibson in the third period, and that was the game-winning goal to former Ducks Sprong. But this was, even though they lost, this was a very entertaining game to watch. I watched it at home, and you were there, Eddie, as they took on the Kraken.
Yeah, you know what? I'm slowly converting my best friend's son, which is my godson, to a Ducks fan. It's the second game I brought him to. So he's slowly converting to a Ducks fan. I try to get him to wear one of my jerseys because I have some jerseys. I collect jerseys, so I have like size small that he can fit into, even though I can't. Maybe my leg can, but but yeah, you know what? Those first 2 goals, I was really frustrated. I'm like, dude, really? Come on. I told him, like, I even told him, like, hey, well, if the Ducks are going to really just put on a shit show like they did with Ottawa, then we'll just bounce out early and we'll go get some dinner and blah, blah, blah. But I'm glad the Ducks came back and they had a lot of fight in them. It took them a little while to get that, but once it happened, they looked like a really good team. It was a really good game despite the loss, and they really didn't back down at all. McTavish ended up scoring a goal. It put him tied for third place as scoring amongst rookies. So that was good to see him get another goal. Hopefully he keeps getting going and getting more goals. One thing that really confused me about this game was Sprong scores his goal and kind of like puts his hand to his ear. Like people in Anaheim really give a crap that you're not playing on the team anymore. Like I don't understand why he was doing that. Like you're a 4th liner barely on an expansion team. Like you're like probably one season away from being a full-time AHLer. I don't even think you can handle a top line in the AHL. So I don't know why he was trying to like troll Ducks fans like he matters and like he really is really relevant. That was a kind of irritating thing, but yeah, it was a good game. We had some Seattle fans sitting in front of us. They were really cool people. The highlight of the game, though, there was a guy 2 rows from us, or sections. I think he had a little too much $18 beers. He was screaming his ass off. Like, the whole arena can hear him just, score an effing goal! Like, the top of his lungs screaming. I was like, holy crap. Like, I didn't want to, like, look at that, acknowledge that guy if he saw me, but, yeah, that was the funniest thing. But, yeah, Mike, thank you again. I had a good time at that game. I ran into a buddy I play hockey with, him and his daughter, so we got to hang out with them. I got to see Jen. Jen made a comment too that Jen Franklin made a comment that the bobblehead looked like Josh Manson a little bit, so that was kind of funny. Yeah, I had a good time. My 4th game this season. Last couple seasons I've been kind of just, I don't know, life has got to me, so I wasn't like going to games a lot. So this season I think last season I went to 2 games total. Now I'm on my 4th game. I'm just got that itch again to be around the fans, to be around the game. I don't care if they're losing or not. I want them to win. Another fun fact too, Mike. This is my 4th game. Oh, it's 2-2. This is the 2nd game I went to without drinking a single alcoholic beverage because I had my godson with me. And I'm not going to drink and drive with him at all. I don't care if it's just a sip of beer or anything. I don't want to have that influence on him. But the Ducks are 2-0 when I go to games and I drink. And they're 0-2 when I go to games and don't drink. So I miss a correlation between that. So next time I go to a game with you, Mike, I'm just going to call an Uber and just get completely annihilated. And hopefully Ducks get a win.
Well, that's usually what happens when we go. We like we talked about before. Hey, we when we go, we drink, we have a good time. We Uber, Lyft it. I like to run into ceilings and stuff and knock myself out. That's what happened. And I'm totally fine. My ribs were kind of. My back were kind of acting up for, I don't know, I'd say about 2 weeks. So it was kind of stupid on my part. But, yeah, maybe the $18 beers help us when we go to the games. I don't know. But,
yeah, well, and when I say annihilate, like, I don't act belligerent. Like Mike and I don't act, like, stupid. And, like, you see fans that go out of control. No. When I act belligerent, and I'm always at my house in the safety of my home, and I never drive. I'm not trying to lecture anyone. You guys can do what you want. You're an adult, but I just feel like I shouldn't put anyone's life in danger. So I always elect to, even though I live further away from Honda Center, it only costs like $30-$40 to Uber back and forth. So I do that. I did want to say something funny too. My godson mentioned that Trevor Zegras, I don't know what was going on with his skates, but he fell like 3 or 4 times in the first period. I don't know if the cut was wrong with his skates. My godson was joking around like, oh, he might be drunk still from the weekend, but it was kind of funny. One disappointment from this game that I got to was Silverberg. Silverberg did not look like he wanted to play at all. There was a rush that he could have went on, and he just kind of elects to just a really small wrist shot in the chest of Martin Jones. Like, I don't understand what's going on with Silverberg. He's been one of my favorite players since he's been on. It took me a while after the Bobby Ryan trade, but I don't know if it's one of those things that Ducks need to eat up salary and trade him. Maybe a change of scenery is going to help him. I don't think the Ducks are going to get anything, but if you're having that attitude around the team, and having that kind of that play thing, I don't think he should be part of the team anymore. Scratch him a few games, waive him. It's just not. It doesn't seem like it's fair. And the kind of the play I seen from him in Seattle was just atrocious, and it shouldn't be tolerated by the coach. It's something that should have been done.
Yeah, that's our buddy Tom in England. He sent us a bunch of questions, and he was messaging me about some of the stuff, and he asked about that. He said the Silfverberg, Lundstrom, Carrick line looked really awful against Seattle. What are the alternates out there? You already kind of touched on that, and we'll go into a little bit more of that when we talk about our season review and the lines and changing it. But I'm with you. It's sad, kind of. I mean, Silfverberg has been really unnoticeable in these games. I mean, I haven't really seen a whole lot of him out there. I mean, it's just like, yeah, I mean, he's just not really there. Carrick's been okay. I think he's trying to get back from his injury, so he's not maybe 100%, so I kind of give him a little bit of a break. And yeah, Lundstrom's been inconsistent too. So I'll go into the alternatives when we talk about the team overall in our quarter season report thing. But another thing Tom asked about too is the power play looked good. The Ducks heading in the right direction. I think they've changed some stuff up on the power play, and I think they are heading in the right direction. You've got Zegras now over on the left flank. You've got McTavish and Terry down low. Cam Fowler in the back shooting the puck. So I think they're going in the right direction on that. They didn't have a chance to really do that in the Nashville game because they didn't get a power play in that game. But from what I saw in the Seattle game, I think that is trending in the right direction. And lastly, the thing that you touched on was Sprong. Yeah, I don't understand. He scored that goal because Gibson was out of position and down from Shattenkirk. So he basically had an open net, and good on you for scoring that goal and not missing the net. But I don't know why he put his hand up to his ear and was like taunting the crowd. Like I don't get it, dude. Like, were the fans taunting him at the game, Eddie?
No, like the fans were just booing. Like, you know what? That game too. I do want to give credit to the fans because they were really loud and passionate. You had a few chants of the Kraken going out there, but it was like overcome with Ducks fans. Like they were into it. It was a really good game. Probably the best fan engagement I've seen all season. The 4 games, the small sample size I've been to the games, but yeah, the fans were really into it, so that was really good to see. But I don't know why. Like after that, the fans were starting to boo him when he touched the puck. But it's just like, bro, you're not relevant. No one cares about you. You didn't do anything for the Ducks. You scored a couple good goals, maybe, but like to put your hand like that, like you're Kirby Doc or someone, like you're nobody. You're going to be a forgotten memory and be in the AHL. And a few seasons, and you'll probably end your career in the KHL or overseas somewhere. So I don't understand why he did that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember any of the fans really saying anything negative about him recently, at least. And when he was on the team and obviously didn't come back, that was Murray was running the team. It's Verbeek now. So I don't know, dude. Like cool for you, Sprong. Like, good job. You scored an empty net goal. Like, I'm proud of you. So.
On a hurt goalie, too.
Yeah, on a goalie that was down, and it looked like he hurt his leg, which Gibson did come back in the Nashville game, which we'll discover that now. I guess, the Ducks started the road trip, and they played a really good game in Nashville. I was surprised Gibson actually came back and started in this game against Nashville, and the Ducks played a really, really tight game. There was only 2 power plays in this one, both for Nashville. I think there were some missed calls in there. The Ducks should have had a couple of power plays. I don't like to say that they lose because of calls. I don't like going there, but there were some calls in there that could have been made and weren't. But this game was good. Terry getting his 10th goal in there. I thought they're going to go to overtime. They've been perfect in overtime, right? They've won all 3 times in overtime, and then or they've had to go to shootouts. And shootouts, they've been good too. I think they've only lost 1 shootout so far this season, but they ended up losing this one in overtime. And man, it just, the way it ended was so frustrating. Was Zegras making that pass to, someone asked me on Twitter, and I said the player was named Boards because he throws it to the boards, and then Nashville picks up and scores. But frustrating the way it ended. But they got a point, and I mean, I thought they played well in this game, Eddie. It was a fast-paced game, and I thought they played well overall.
Yeah, I was surprised too. Nashville had a few games off. The arena got flooded, so they couldn't play against Colorado or Columbus. Maybe someone needs to fix the building over there. But yeah, I think Zegras is. I think sometimes Zegras, his I think his thought process or his body moves faster than his mind because some of the plays that he makes, I've noticed too. A few games he's been defensively irresponsible, and just those little mistakes. But you know what? Like it's still those growing pains. This is like sophomore season in the league. He's still learning. He's still developing. So we can't hold it against him. We can't just sit there and blame it all on Zegras, even though it's so easy to do that. It's one mistake, and the other team capitalizes on it. It was good to see Gibson come back and play his stellar play and do that, but it's one of those things. Like I know a lot of fans wanted to beat Trashville, what they're called, especially that whole playoff thing and stuff like that, and we had to hear their stupid chant. But just losing 1-0 in overtime, it wasn't that bad, and we saw a lot of improvements from the Ducks on this game, so we can just take that with the grain of salt and move forward.
Yeah, it looked like there's maybe some miscommunication, in that overtime. Like White went towards the bench and Zegras threw it back there thinking he was there. I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah, I was happy with the play overall. I thought, the Ducks got a point, and, it is what it is. So they did get Vakanainen back in this game. I thought he played well coming back. He hadn't played all season. Don't really know what the injury was. Obviously, he slammed into the boards in the preseason, so it's probably his back. Maybe something with his neck and head, but we don't know 100%. Just glad that he's back and on the ice. So,
well, he hasn't played a game since last season against Dallas when they had that. When the Ducks had the e-bug, I think Dan Wood pointed that out that he hadn't played a game since that game. So it's been a while since he actually played a regular season game.
Yeah, you're right. He only appeared in those couple preseason games. That was it. So that's the good news. Is that he came back. And the good news that Gibson wasn't seriously hurt, because I didn't think he was going to start in this game. I thought, oh man, Stoller's going to come in.
No, especially the way his leg went back. Like I'm like, holy crap, that's did not look good at all.
No, it did not. So that's your recap of the games. With that, we'll move on to the next section. I'll just remind you that our podcast is part of the Old City Sports Network. If you're looking for different nutrition needs, one of the things that I use is Z-Stack for Life. It's a multivitamin. I check it out, zstacklife.com. Enter my name, Mike, and the code. You get a discount. It's a good mix of vitamins, so check it out. Okay.
I got to check it out, Mike. I had to go and actually get that and check it out. I'm taking a lot of stuff, like legal stuff, like supplements for working out. So I got to check that out. I'm always keen to try new stuff. So
yeah, well, and if you want the other, you can hit it now too. Might as well is tell them about Bucked Up. You tried another thing with them as well.
Yeah, it's called some deer antler velvet spray. It's supposed to help with recovery. It's supposed to help to maximize your strength. I've been trying. I bought it during the Black Friday special sales that they had. You spray it under your tongue, 6 sprays under your tongue for 20 seconds, and you swallow it. It's supposed to help. Instantly, I went to the gym today. I had a pretty good workout. I kind of maximized what I wanted to do. And I instantly kind of felt, after I took it 30 minutes after, I felt a little surge of energy and to help my muscle structure and recovery. So if you guys want to try that, you guys feel free to DM me. I have other stuff from Bucked Up too that I tried and I use. If you guys want to go ahead and plug in DucksNPucks 93, you can save 20% off and you get free shipping too. So like I said, if you guys have any questions on working out, I can tell you the stuff I use and what works for me. I do have a buddy. He's a trainer, but he also does competitions. He broke the record for bench in his weight class. He broke the world record because he's crazy. It's funny because he's really short. I think he's like 5'1", 5'2". He stacks like 300 plus on the bench, and he's nuts. This is his passion. This is his thing. So if you're ever looking for someone, just let me know. I can refer you to him too. But yeah, check out Bucked Up. And if you guys, I think working out's really it plays a vital role in your life. It makes me feel good. Those extra endorphins, especially when I'm stressed out and having one of those bad days like human nature throws at us. So it's good to go to the gym and just kind of work it out and go from there.
Yeah, so there you go. If you're looking for different things, you got buckedup.com and then zstacklife.com. So check those out. Those are 2 of our sponsors. All right, so the way things have gone this quarter of the season, we had Pat Verbeek actually gave an interview on Duckstream, which is a great platform that the Ducks have come up with a lot of podcasts, a lot of information on there. If you haven't, check them out, and all the different shows that they have to offer on there. So he came on there and talked. We'll go over a little bit of what he said. He also talked to the media the day after. So we'll go over that right now, and then we'll go into our quarter report about the Ducks. They kind of go together, but I thought it was interesting, his opening comments, Eddie. He talked about the season. He said, when the season started, I thought we'd be at or near 500. It's kind of been disappointing. He also looked at the season, breaking up the games. The first 10, he said that they, quote, didn't compete hard enough to win puck battles. And then in the last 10, they had been competing harder and had a chance to win. He also talked about them being, inconsistent, doing well in some things and not well in other things. So what did you think about his initial assessment? I mean, I think when we talked about it, we thought the Ducks would maybe be in striking distance for the playoffs. Like we talked about maybe they'd be like a 9th or 10th or whatever, and we didn't expect them to be as low as they are now. And if they were playing 500, they would be in striking distance. So, I mean, I think we're kind of in line with what he had thought too before the season, or did you think something differently?
Well, but on that first show, I said that the Ducks weren't going to be as good as they were last season. I think last season was a fluke. And a lot of teams underestimated them, and the Ducks came out firing, but then reality kind of set in. We saw our defensive core, which you mentioned too, on one of our first shows that we recorded this season, that was a concern for you, was the whole defensive thing, and it is. I do like Pat Verbeek. He's real. He's straightforward. He's not BSing. Murray would always be like, "Oh, it's a process. Win now." Blah blah blah. He wouldn't just. I guess too much alcohol for him or whatever the hell he was going through. He wouldn't really be as transparent and stuff. But I think Verbeek is okay with what's going on. Yeah, obviously he's a competitor. He doesn't want to lose, but it's a process. This whole rebuilding thing and building a winning franchise takes time. You just can't snap your fingers. Look at New Jersey. Like I keep referring to them a few seasons ago. They try to accelerate the rebuild process by signing big names and bringing in players, but it just didn't work, and they went downhill. It finally took, how many years later? 4 or 5 seasons where they're actually top in the league right now, and everything in their process is working out for them. So we have to just be patient. I know it's frustrating as Ducks fans. We want the team to win. We want them to strive and win the Stanley Cup. We want to shut the hell out of the Kings up with their stupid 2-cup response, the only number they can actually count up to. But it's just, we have to just be patient. We have to let our players develop. We have to let Zegras develop into the franchise player he's going to be. Terry's becoming that superstar. If not, I think he already is a superstar the way he's been playing. But it's just one of those things where we have to be patient. It's frustrating. It's going to suck. And you know what? We have to roll with it. We're Ducks fans. We love our team. We're passionate about our team. We're not one of those people that are just going to jump back. They're like, oh, well, let's see who's in first place. No. It's just, this team's not going to be bad forever. And they're going to hit a stride where this rebuild process is going to be over. And they're going to be just dynamic. They're going to be dominant. And they're going to compete for a Stanley Cup every single season. Trust me. I've seen teams. I was in Colorado at their worst times. And I've seen how Colorado built their team into the dynasty they have right now. They're going to win a few more Stanley Cups, the way that the superstars they have and the way they develop their team. And I can see this coming from the Ducks. Zegras is going to lead the way. Terry's going to lead the way. And we're going to have an amazing team. I do want to give a shout out to Alexis Downey, too, in the Ducks stream. She's been doing a hell of a job. She's really knowledgeable. She's so creative and so fun getting all these interviews that she has with everyone she's had. So she's doing a really good job. The Ducks, I think that was probably one of their best signings they have, was bringing her on. And she's just really doing a good job on social media and on her podcast and really covering hockey really well. So she's putting her name out there, and she's really making a really big stand on what she's been doing. So really big shout out to her.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's done a fantastic job, and I think the Ducks have done a great job bringing her in and setting up this whole thing with the Duck stream. And, the other thing that's big about this, too, is what you touched on with Murray. He would have those once-a-year things, where he would come out and he would talk about the team, which was good. He started doing that, but it was only once a year, and that was the time you got him. You didn't really get a lot throughout the season. So what I like is, Verbeek comes out here, a quarter of the season through, and he goes on here and he talks. And if you listen to the podcast, we're still going to go over some more stuff here, but he's on there it's only 13, 14 minutes, but he goes on there and talks about different things as we're breaking them down. And then he talks to the Eric Stevens and some of the other media as well on the following day. So there's some of that too mixed in here too, some stuff from Eric Stevens' article as well. But he's in line with what you were saying too, Eddie, is that he said, quote, "There's multiple things going on. I'd look at a lot of new personnel that we've inserted into the lineup. It's time for guys to be able to trust one another. We're going through those growing pains as well," end quote. So he talked a lot about that. And he didn't put the blame on all the young players either. He talked about the veterans haven't necessarily been playing well, and they've been, quote, making critical mistakes. And he was saying, 5-on-5, there's been mistakes on coverage that shouldn't be made now, that the team should be gelling and getting back together. His biggest thing, too, is consistency, where that's been an issue with the team, not being consistent. But he talks about trust and confidence are a big thing on the team, and you do see that at times, like we talked about that play with Zegras in the Nashville game. He passes it back to the boards, and White's not there. White's going to the bench. So, I'm not gonna play the blame game, whatever. But the thing is they're not in sync, basically, right? He's thinking he's there. White's thinking, well, I'm going to go to the bench and get a fresh guy out there so he can carry the puck up. They're just not on the same page, and I think that's just a microcosm for the way that the season has gone, whether it's offense or defense. More so defense, obviously, we've talked about that. They're just not gelling right, and I think he's given them some leeway. He also said, quote, that there's going to be more runway for them going forward. So I'm still with him. And I think another part of it, too, you talked about the fans. All the games I've been to, the fans, all of you have been awesome. You've been into it. And I think part of that's this openness from Verbeek. Like, we're not in the dark like we were with Murray. Verbeek's out there telling us what's going on. The Ducks are communicating a lot through the DucksStream platform or website and all their different podcasts. So the communication is there from the organization and management. And he preaches patience, and I'm with him. I'm still excited. I think a lot of us, we know that this season's a rebuild. We know the season's going to be tough. We're still excited to go see Zegras play. We're excited to see Terry play and see the things that they're going to do on the ice, and what's going to happen. And McTavish, he's obviously done well too, getting in there. So I think we know that wins and losses. Okay, yeah, we'd like to win games, but we know it is what it is this season. But I think if we can make some more tweaks, and we'll talk about some possible trades coming up here, that, as you talked about, the Ducks will be good for seasons to come.
Exactly. It's just we have to be patient. It's a process. It's you can't just snap your finger and have a Stanley Cup contending team. It doesn't work. You can look at Tampa, what they have done. I mentioned Colorado. That's my second favorite team, so I'll keep referring back to them because I was there during the whole process. I was live, the practices I'd go to and stuff like that. You can't just build a team out of scratch. No, it's a process. I know you're frustrated, the coaching staff. I get frustrated too. I just had to stop and think hey, it's not going to last forever. Look at those freaking banners up there, all those Pacific Division banners. Look at that Stanley Cup banner, first in California. We're always going to have that. It's going to get better. This team's going to win the Stanley Cup. I can just envision Zegras with his nice flow, calling the Stanley Cup dude, thank you, dude, to the Stanley Cup. It's going to be fun. We have to just suck it up, keep being loyal and good fans. But you're right, Mike, the fans have been amazing, especially that Seattle game. The fans were so loud and so passionate. It's cool. The game we went to, I'm hugging random people. It's just hockey's back. I love it. It's just I'm so grateful and thankful to be a fan of this sport, to be on this podcast, even though I said that last show before Thanksgiving, but just to reiterate that again, it's just so great to be part of it. It's awesome, and this team's gonna bounce back. It's not gonna last forever, so we have to just look to the future. And then, speaking of future, Mike, we have some important games coming up in a few weeks to LA Kings. So I think I don't care if the Ducks. Oh, you know what? It's funny. I told my godson, if the Ducks keep losing, it's fine. I want a high draft pick. I want the number 1 overall, the first in franchise history. But I do want them to beat the Kings, and I want them to beat teams that I show up to. So it's a little selfish thing I have, but.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you still want them to beat the rivalry teams, L.A., San Jose, things
Minnesota, because I hate Minnesota.
I was just going to say Minnesota because you hate Minnesota.
You know what? And apparently the last game they played, there was a lot of nastiness in that game too. So hopefully when they play them on Saturday, it's a little early game. It'll be 11 our time. So hopefully it's more nastiness come that time. Dallas we have tomorrow too. Dallas. Speaking of Dallas, Rob Hintz signed that big 8-year deal. Like, he's so underrated. He's been just producing at a level, and Dallas has just been firing up. It's crazy. That Robertson guy, I believe. Yeah, Robertson. I have him on fantasy. He's just been just nuts, going bananas. Dallas was. You know what's funny about him too, Jason Robinson? He's from Arcadia, California. So I used to work in Arcadia, so it's a little history thing. But he held out in training camp, and he didn't play at all, holding out for a deal. He finally got his deal. He comes back, and he has 36 points in 23 games. He's almost a 20-goal scorer again. Last season, he just went bananas. He's going bananas again. Hopefully, Ducks can shut them down and shut Dallas's little heat streak going. And I really think the Ducks on tomorrow will take Dallas. I think Dallas will underestimate the Ducks a little bit, and the Ducks might take the edge on them and win. But I really hope they win against Minnesota on Saturday, though. And I want to see a few more fights because F Minnesota, but they have Revo now. So it's going to be kind of tough winning some of those battles.
Yeah, the scheduling is kind of weird. They're going to play Dallas, like you said, and then on this road trip, they play Minnesota on Saturday at 11 and then Winnipeg on Sunday at 12. So kind of a weird, I don't know what's going on the schedule, but they've got these two super early games back-to-back on the weekend. So... on the road too. So I mean, a little tough bit of scheduling here coming up after this Dallas game. But yeah, I'm with you. I want to see if they can upset Dallas, and Dallas has been doing all right. And then of course, like you said, we talked about Minnesota, and here they are. They're on the schedule. So some good games coming up here. Some of the other things too that the Ducks are going to need to do in order to start winning some games that Verbeek talked about were the special teams. He said that the special teams haven't been good. The biggest issue is giving up goals in the power play, trying to overcome that. He said that execution's been a big problem. He talked about having new players in new spots. And again, that whole thing about trust. I think they got better on the power play. Like I said, a little bit of adjustments there. Having Zegras more on the side, letting Fowler do the point shot. So that worked in that Seattle game. We'll have to see how it does in these 3 games coming up. And I think another thing that we're blessed with Verbeek is the way he looks at this team. He's got a scouting perspective, a coaching perspective, and a player's perspective, and he kind of puts that all together. And he was saying that he looks at the systems, and are there issues with the systems, or is it executing the systems? And it's more of the execution. He talks about how they're not consistent. He'd like to see more one-touch passes on the power play. And guys being in the right spot. Also on the penalty kill, if you have a chance to pressure when a guy's turning away from you or it's got his back towards the wall or whatever, he talks about, hey, should be automatic. You got to pass down low or carry the puck in, whatnot. So I think that's one really good aspect of him, Eddie, is that he has these different hats that he can wear. And I mean, a lot of GMs have that, but with him, he talks about that scouting role that he's had in the past. And he's doing that now, right? He's going out looking at other teams, which we'll talk about that later in the show. But he's looking at this as being a player, being a coach, being a GM, all these different aspects. And I think it's important that he sees what's going on. And it's not the systems. It's trying to get the people on the same page, working together as a team. And obviously, defensively and special teams-wise, that hasn't happened.
Yeah, I have a good feeling about him. I think I'm confident he's going to lead us to a Stanley Cup in the future. Just the way his competitive nature is, where he came from, just how he can take those pieces from everywhere he's been, from the roles he's been on different teams as a player. He knows what it takes to win and to compete. He knows what the whole recipe is. If you want to make a masterpiece, if you want to cook something really well, you want to make the best steak you ever had, it takes some time. It takes a lot of recipes. So you just have to just roll with it and go with it. And as fans, we have to be patient. Me, I'm the most impatient person in the world. I'm freaking out if I have to wait more than a minute for anything. But I mean, as a Ducks fan, I have to just suck it up and be patient. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's going to get better. So all we do is just move on and move forward, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then one last thing that I'll cover. He does cover a lot of the like young players and whatnot. I'm not going to talk about that. You can go listen to it on Duckstream because he goes into all that and how the future is bright and the guys coming up. But one last thing that he did mention that I want to cover because everybody asked questions of this. We had Brian Xbox on Instagram ask, is there going to be a coaching change in the future after the season? Another person on Instagram asking about the firing the coaches and whatnot. We get a lot of those questions. I think almost every show we get them. So they asked him about that, or Alexis asked him about that, and he said that it sounds like he's going to stick to it. He's going to, evaluate the team at the end of the season. 20 games, he says, hasn't been enough, and he's given the coaches and the players time to figure some stuff out. So whether you like it or not, I don't think Dallas Eakins is going anywhere. And I know a lot of you are upset about that, and you think he should be gone. I have mixed feelings. I've said it before. If you're going to take him out and put in an assistant coach, that's not really going to change anything. You have to have some kind of plan. So, he's going to let him figure it out. Like I said, outside the team losing a bazillion games in a row, I think he's going to stay. And he's got to figure out who's going to be the coach. If it's not Dallas Eakins long term, maybe he gets somebody there in the offseason and change up the coaching staff and whatnot. So I get with what he's doing. I don't think just yanking Dallas Eakins and not having a plan is really the answer. But that's my take. I'm not saying that it may not happen during the season. It's a long season. Stuff can change. But as for now, he's going to stick with Dallas Eakins, Eddie.
Yeah, and you know what? As frustrating this might sound, I agree with that. I think it's the right move. I mean, I get frustrated too, and I'll make comments here and there on Twitter. But I think removing him as head coach right now would be a bad move for the Ducks. What's the point? Eakins has proved that he's a player's coach, and he can help develop these players and to be superstars. Look at Zegras, look at Terry, look at all our youngsters that came up from the AHL when he was coaching and mentoring them. I think having him would pay dividends for these young players. He has that edge, or he has that certain spark and rapport with our young players and help them develop, and I think it's important. He's a big health nut. He's all about fitness too, so he's going to keep these players, up to beat on that. I spoke to a fan too that doesn't think that she has some kind of connection with him. I'm not going to throw the name or anything like that, but she doesn't think that he's going to leave Anaheim anytime soon because for XYZ reasons. And I mentioned too, if the Ducks did decide to move on from him as head coach next season, would it be a possibility, and would you want him to kind of remain with the club as a player development coach or some kind of role with the coach, because he seems to have these rapport with the younger players? I mean, obviously he's not going to digress and go back to San Diego and take on the head coaching job from there, but I think I can see him if he would take that role of being an asset to the Ducks with a player development role for our young players, because he seems to have that rapport with all of them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting point, Eddie. I think you're right as far as the development. I think he's done a great job, and he did a great job when he was in San Diego. I think the issue more so is what we've talked about with the lineup during the season and trying to get the best out of the lineup, which is where we're going to head next. We're going to talk about the quarter season review of the Ducks and kind of analyze the offense and defense and some stats and give our opinions that way. But I'm with you. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe they put him more in that player development type role if they do take him out of the coaching job next season. So
yeah, but
go ahead.
But what's the point of making a coaching change? Like, do you want to get a few more wins? Do you want to move up in the standings to be to get a 10th overall pick, a 15th overall pick? No, you don't want that. Right now, it's like I said, it sucks. It's terrible. But we have Connor Bedard is going to be a generational player, which he's projected to be. We have a good draft coming up. Do you really want to just sacrifice that and bring in a coach, changing the system, I don't know. We have to be patient. I see a lot of fans still are hoping for a big surge and a playoff run. It's not going to happen, guys. It's really not. So if you're one of those fans that are thinking you're going to go put like $100 to make that $30,000 to one odd, no, it's not, and it shouldn't happen at all. The Ducks need to just keep doing what they're doing. I don't want to see them bringing a big name guys can help the team, and we'll talk about that more when we go into our trade rumor segment of this show. But a coaching change is not going to help the Ducks do anything, but get them maybe a couple more wins, or it's going to digress these players more to have to adapt to a new system, because a new coach means a new coaching system. It's going to be a recipe for disaster. Let's ride with what we have. And like Verbeek said, let's reevaluate everything come next season, and then he'll make determinations on what he wants to do. And maybe Akins has a different plan, or maybe, you know what? I know a lot of teams won't admit this, but maybe sometimes tanking is the best thing to do for a team that want to just accelerate this whole rebuild process. I know no teams will admit to intentionally tanking. I don't think the players do it, but you know what? Look at Edmonton getting that first overall pick all the time, and I really believe that their team and their management was all in for a tank.
Yeah, that was one thing Verbeek said. He hates that word. He hates the whole tanking notion. So, I don't know. That's what he talked about, because he's super competitive. But, yeah, as far as the coaching thing, I'm with you. I'm talking about at the end of the season, maybe they put him in a development type role if they don't keep him as coach or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know if they would do that. It's really curious to see what's going to happen. But regardless, I'm with you, trying to do some kind of change now. There's already all this other stuff going on. I just don't think that that's the answer right now. We've got too much other crap that we got to try to fix, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Is the way the season's gone, and in this 20+ games that we're going to break down the quarter season report as we talk about the Ducks, the offense, the defense, special teams, and what's going on with this team. We could talk about the coaching all you want, and yes, I don't think the optimal lineup's out there all the time, and we're going to go into that right now. But the way the Ducks have done so far this season, if you look at their puck possession numbers, their Corsi and Fenwick numbers, they're below 50%. They're in the mid-40s, which is not good. They've scored 39 goals. They've given up 60. So putting their goals for percentage around 39%. Simple math there. But they, underperforming. So I guess the first part of this is we talk about offense and kind of looking at the team. We can kind of evaluate some of the lines. We can see that the Ducks' best line has been Henrique, Zegras, and Terry. They're your top scorers on the team. They've also got the best, analytics numbers too. They're over 55% for their goals for expected, and 53% for Corsi for. So they're doing good. They're up there in the 50s. They're doing great. We had that new line of McTavish, Jones, and Leeson. They've been doing it well. Also similar analytical numbers. And then their next best one has been Comtois, who is, of course, now out, Lindstrom, and Silverberg, who have been just over 50% in their numbers. So those are kind of your best performing lines, going by puck analytics and also by their points, too, that they've scored. But I think there's more tinkering that needs to be done as far with this team. I think they need to try and figure some stuff out. We talked about Terry and Zegras and putting them together. They did that. Now Henrique's in there, and they've been doing well. Lundstrom and Silverberg with Carrick has not been so great. Obviously, Comtois out, so there's something there you got to figure out. Grant's obviously not been doing as well this year. We've talked about him. Eddie mentioned earlier in the show about benching Silverberg and scratching him. I'm for that. I think he's had some rough games, especially this game against Nashville. He didn't play that well. Maybe he needs a break here and there, but I would like to see Pavel Regenda up more and playing more. I think he's done well. His numbers look good with the team, so I'd like to see him up there in the lineup. But I think they need to mix some stuff up. It seems like Stroma and Vetrano have not played well defensively, and maybe you got to separate those guys in the lineup, and do some changes. And I think that's what you should do, and that's what Dallas should do is try and do some more experimenting with some of these lines and try and change some stuff up. You figured out you got one line. We know Henrique, Zegras, and Terry can score, and the rest are all kind of jumbled up. I like McTavish being at center. You could keep him with Jones and Leeson. We had a question about that from T Dizzle 9. Do we think that that's the best fourth line we've had in a while? I think it has been a good fourth line. I don't know if that's the line we should roll with. I'd like to see McTavish, in a top 9 role. But if you're going to put them at center between those two, they've done well, analytically speaking, for the short time they've been together. But I think that's the thing, Eddie, with this team is trying to figure out, who your second and third lines are. Vetrano and Strome together haven't always been great, so maybe you split up the New York guys and put them on a couple other lines and try and go from there.
McTavish on the fourth line, that's just like rubs you the wrong way. It's just like mismanagement of a really, really special player that you have. Send him down or something. Like, have him get more games. I think he's eligible for the AHL. I'm correct. Like, send him down to the A. He could be a top line over there, top line center, and get crunching all those minutes. But putting him on the fourth line and diminishing his line minutes is not going to help. It's like a mismanagement what Seattle's doing with Shane Wright. They kept him up, didn't send him down. Obviously, he can't play in junior. Well, he could play in junior if they sent him down, but he really proved that he's way better than that. You know what's funny with Seattle too? They found a loophole where if a rookie player scratch X amount of games, they can send him down to the AHL. I guess for a conditioning thing or whatever. So they found a loophole in that. So he's been playing really well in the AHL, but. It's like if you're not going to play a player like you have that's going to be a potential top 6 player and top star in your team, then send him somewhere where he's going to get all those minutes and develop properly. Because putting him on the fourth line is absolutely bullshit. You shouldn't be doing that at all. Like, I think I exceeded my S words for the show, so that's my last one I'll use. I think I have one F word I can use, so say that for later. But no, like. A player like him, he works hard. He's so special, and like I said, that game when he scored, he's third amongst rookies. And if he just gets that fire and gets more playing time, I think his numbers will up the game. He's waiting to break out, and seeing him just on the fourth line is not working out. A lot of changes have to be made with this team. It's just frustrating. Strome, I knew that he was going to have some kind of issues coming into the season. Like, people thought he was going to just all of a sudden fill that role and kind of like score at the pace that he was, but he's not playing with a guy like Panarin. Panarin's a freaking established superstar and can put points up on the board, pass the puck to Panarin, and he'll just score a goal. So we have to take that into consideration, that he's just coming from New York, where he spent a few seasons over there playing with one of the top players in the league, and now he's with the rebuilding team. Thing is that Strome wanted to be here. He's happy to be here. So it's going to take time for him to kind of get into that groove and find his game with players that aren't Panarin. So we have to just kind of be patient with that. But yeah, you're right. I think they should split them up. But Toronto loves to shoot. Bring in what a player loves to pass. Like I said, it's going to take time, Mike. It's not going to be easy. People are going to be frustrated. I'm frustrated at times. I tweet things out, but then I just stop and think, like, okay, well, it's a process. As a fan, I'm like, all right, I'm pissed off. But then it's talking on Ducks and Pucks and then analyzing these games. I got to just kind of like, okay, remember the process and breathe.
Yeah, that's good. Remember the process and breathe. I like that. That's a good one, Eddie. We should use that phrase and post that on social media. It's a process.
Hey, a T-shirt.
Yeah,
a T-shirt.
There you go. Make a T-shirt.
Hey, you haven't made a T-shirt in a while. I think a new T-shirt design for this season. We had Delorier love the one that you made. Free Z, he loved that one.
Oh yeah, he did. He liked that shirt. He was cracking up when I gave him that shirt. He really loved that one. But
you have to figure out what shirt to make.
Yeah, relax and breathe. It's gonna take time. Yeah,
$18 beer.
Yeah,
in Ducks font. That'd be sick. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know if the Ducks would like that, but I know some of the fans would. But yeah, with the team, I think the good news is on offense they've got the top line. That's not an issue. So now it's trying to figure out that second and third line. And for me, I think you put Vetrano and Strome on each of those lines, and you try and figure out what you're going to do. But I like Regenda, McTavish, and Vetrano on the line. Maybe that would work out well. And then Strome, you put with a Jones and Leeson, or maybe Comtois when he gets back, something like that. That's kind of what I look at. The fourth line is what it is with this team. I'm not really worried about that. It is what it's going to be. So I think that's the key, is trying to figure out those two middle lines for the Ducks, and then go from there. And then, we'll work on the systems. I think the other part of this, we talk about the defense. I don't know what they're doing on defense. I'm like confused, Eddie. Like, I think some games they play man, and then other games I think they try to play zone, but it's like, it's just a pile of crap. Like, I hate to say that, but defensively, I don't know. It's just a mess. I can't really figure out what they're doing. It seems like they go back and forth. I think with them, I don't know if man always really works out. It seems like that they lose a guy and someone gets open, they score. We saw that in some of these games, where guys are left alone, especially in Seattle. A couple of those goals, they weren't on Gibson. They left guys alone. They could have scored. So maybe going to zone more instead of man would be better on defense. That's one thing that I've kind of looked at. And then the pairings, looking at some of their analytical numbers, they're rough, man. I mean, what's unfortunate is some of their best pairings, which have been with Drysdale and Kulikov. Well, Drysdale's out. We know he's gone for most of the season, so you're kind of stuck with that. Klingberg has just not done well. Which Verbeek talked about that in his on the podcast and whatnot to the media. It looked like Klingberg's best pairing has been with Benoit. They've done okay. They've been right around 49, 51% puck possession numbers. So that's kind of been a good pairing for them, maybe to keep them together. And then Fowler and Kulikov have been decent. They've been in the high 40s, around 48%, just under that 50%. So I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking at the team. But Klingberg's out too. So if he comes back, maybe you have him with Benoit and Fowler with Kulikov, and they work it out. And now we've got Vakanainen back. Thank God. I think that helped as well because you saw what happened in the Nashville game. They a fast-paced game, but they weren't leaving as many people wide open like they were in the Seattle game, and that's what I like about Vakanainen. That was one question we had from Clearing Bull on Instagram. Asked, with Vakanainen back, what do you want to see from him? And that's what I want to see from him. Is his skating ability is awesome, and they talked about this on the broadcast. Is him being a shutdown type guy, and that's what Eddie, you and I talked about. With him out, the Ducks haven't had that on the team, and then obviously Drysdale's been a good two-way, maybe not necessarily a stay-at-home defenseman, more two-way, but he's been able to have decent numbers as well. So they didn't have both those guys. Now you at least got Vakanainen back, so I think that's huge. I think the problem is you got to figure out who else is in your top six because Shattenkirk has not played well. I do like White and Strand in there. Of course, they sent Strand back down to San Diego, so much for that. But that's kind of the pairings the way I look at Fowler, Kulikov, Benoit, and Klingberg when Klingberg comes back. But I mean, he hasn't been great, but Benoit has at least worked out with him, and they've been okay. They haven't been terrible. So that's what I'm looking at. I think they got to try and figure it out. You look at the analytical numbers. That's kind of where they follow with those four guys. None of the pairings have been great. Right, most of their numbers are all below 50%. They're not getting. There's none of them with their goals for percentage over 50, which is not good. You want to have somebody that's controlling the puck and also more chances to score when they're out there, but they're not. The numbers haven't looked great. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'm glad that Vakanainen's back, but that should help. But I think Klingberg and Shattenkirk have been the biggest problems for the Ducks on the blue line this season.
Oh yeah, they've just been non-existent. Like how many fans actually knew that Klingberg wasn't even playing in games? And he's not even traveling with the team. He's been really just I don't know. And no disrespect to Shattenkirk or Klingberg, it's sometimes systems don't work for these guys. They're both offensive type defensemen, and a trade to different teams and their value hasn't really decreased because they can go on a different team and just explode. We've seen it numerous times where a player just. For example, look at Valier Nishkinen from Colorado. He was in Dallas, supposed to be he was a 9th overall pick, supposed to be a good player. He just had his little bumps and grinds in Dallas, got some injuries. He didn't really come to his potential. He goes to Colorado, he gets a big ass deal, wins the Stanley Cup, and he's a top player. Unfortunately, he's injured for the season, or not for the season. He's coming back soon. But it takes a different system, a different line mates just to get that spark. Any athlete that's played any sports, it's sometimes a system doesn't work for you, teammates don't work for you. So I think Klingberg and Shattenkirk have a lot to offer to a team, and they're going to be commodities come the trade deadline, if not before that. Fowler has been going nuts too. He just. Since the last show, or the last couple shows we talked about him, kind of downgrading him, he's just been popping up points here and there. Goal, assist. He's been playing a lot better. He's been our best defenseman, and he's kind of living up to that top role. I always saw Fowler as a top 4 defenseman, but the way he's been playing as of late, he's been playing as a top defenseman. So it's really good to see him kind of coming out the shell and rising up and leading by example. So I like seeing that, but it's just our defensive core is having issues, and it just seems like Klingberg and Shattenkirk aren't working out our defensive core. So something has to give. I think the best thing to do is, I know we want to see a trade, we want to see a change now, but if we hold these guys to the trade deadline, teams will overpay for them. You will get, I want to say, twice the amount that you would get at the trade deadline than you would right now for Klingberg or Shattenkirk. Shattenkirk's last year deal, his deal is not that bad. I believe it was 3.8 last time we talked about him. Obviously Klingberg, we have to eat up some cap for him, but the Ducks have the cap room to eat up the cap space and to help out teams that can't afford these players like fully on. So I think that's the best bet we have for the Ducks. Like, we're gonna get assets for these guys. I'll be surprised if I see Shattenkirk moving past the trade deadline, and definitely Klingberg. He's not. It's obviously not working out for him. So I did read one report too that Ducks were thinking about maybe keeping him in a little bit. That's why I mentioned in my article too. But it's just the system's not working out for him. The players that he's playing with is not working out for him. Mike, I think we both agree that we're looking for Drysdale to come back real soon, because he was just he was playing really well when he was with the Ducks.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he went out. There's still a chance he could come back at the end of the season, but with the way the season's going, who knows, how it's going to pan out. But yeah, I agree with you. Don't rush him. Especially when we see in 3-4 months where we're at. I'm with you on that. A couple fan questions about the defense too. We had Jonathan Schultz. He asked about, do you think signing Klingberg was a mistake? Obviously, good trade bait, but I don't think he's worth what we paid for him. Well, I don't think it was a mistake, and there's a couple reasons why. One is we had to get to the cap floor. That's why the Ducks brought him in. The other part of it is, and we talked about this at the time of the signing, is that it gave the Ducks options. So with him, the Ducks can either, if he played well, which we hoped he would, but he's not, but there was that possibility, and then you gave him a bigger contract, and you had Klingberg stay with the team long term and be a guy that did fit into the system and be a guy that would be, maybe a mainstay for the team. But if that didn't work, which it looks like that's what's going on now, you're still going to be able to trade him. I think the biggest thing is you got to get him healthy again, get him back out there on the ice and playing more. Same thing with Shattenkirk. Keep them both out there. Yeah, I know they haven't been great, but maybe they turned some things around and whatnot. But you can't, scratch these guys. Obviously, Klingberg being hurt, that's one thing. But if you can get him back, I'm fine with that. So I don't think signing him was a mistake at all. And we had another question too from Clarion Bull that asked about, if they're all healthy, who's the odd man out on defense? He says Colton White. Maybe Colton White is the one that's out. Like I said, I would like to see Strand up in there, but they sent him back down. I think Colton White's been okay. I don't think he's been terrible. But if there's an odd man out, he's kind of the one that's hanging on right there for now. Like we said, he would be the 7th one as of what it looks like right now. So that's kind of my takes on some of those. I don't know what you thought about Klingberg coming in and who you think the odd man out is, Eddie.
Well, Klingberg has been with Dallas since 2014-15 season until this season. He's with the Anaheim Ducks. This is like Dallas was the only team and only place he's actually learned to play with those players. That thing that can take effect and have some kind of ripple effect on a player's mind. Like you kind of left your only place that you called quote unquote home, and only team you played for. So he has to get used to that. Yeah, I know he's not he's not a rookie in the league. He's 30 years old. But still, it's like you left your team. Obviously, you couldn't get an extension over there with them. And now you're in a brand new system, brand new team, brand new environment. That all plays a factor in these players' minds, if you don't think so or not. It plays the whole fact of chemistry and everything. So it's hard to really sit there and say that, he sucks. He's not playing well. But you have to see and look outside the box at the factors that might be kind of going through his mind, the psychological. Like, hockey is a psychological sport. Like, you see goalies doing the same thing. Players have superstitions. Like Crosby, his superstitions that he has, and he's going to be one of the best players in the world to ever retire when he does. But yeah, we have to stop and think. He's only played 20 games with Anaheim Ducks. and that's the only 20 games in his career that he played with a different team. So we can't hold that against him. It's an adjustment period for him. He has to learn how to play with another team without his teammates. It's just a whole different thing. He looks down and sees a Ducks jersey on and not a Dallas Stars jersey. So that can play a role in how he's not fitting in with the system. It takes some time. I can't count him out. I think he's a really skilled defenseman, and he can put up a lot of numbers. Obviously it didn't work out, and like we all been there if you played sports, or you know what, like even in life, you guys date a man or a woman, you guys are dating someone, doesn't always work out. So I think it's the same thing with Klingberg. I think at the deadline he's still going to fetch a really healthy return and a good return for the Ducks, and I really, regardless of what you guys think about, I really hope that he finds himself and his groove and he has success wherever he goes, because I think he still has a lot of hockey to give. He's a good player. He's only 30 years old, and he's been proven to put up offensive numbers and to really help a team out on the power play. It's just, obviously, it's new to him. It's a whole big adjustment, a whole life-changing experience for him. We have to really stop and think that these hockey players aren't Supermen. They're human, too, so we have to get that factors into it. We can't really hold that against him.
Yeah, one last thing about that too is Verbeek mentioned, talking to him recently, and he thinks that he can get back to where he was at, and he's still confident. And maybe that's part of his being in a different system, like you talked about. He's been on the other team for a long time, but he still believes in himself and feels like he can get where he needs to be. So I thought that was interesting. And also another update too is Klingberg's not with the team on the road trip. So we don't know when exactly he's going to come back. They're hoping maybe he could play at the end of this road trip, but just so you know, he's still out for a little while. So that's kind of what's going on defensively. I guess the last part would be the goalies, which Verbeek did talk about this too. And he talked about Gibson, saying that he can't ask for any more out of him. He's given the team a chance to win every night, and that's what he's looking for. And you look at their numbers. Obviously, Gibson playing more games than Stolarz, but they're very close numbers. The save percentages are both right around 8.90, 8.94, and then goals against 3.99 for Gibson and 3.75 for Stolarz. So very close numbers. And I know a lot of people, I get this too, they're just like, trade Gibson has been the big thing, just like fire the coach. But again, what's your plan then? It's easy to sit there and say, hey, trade him, but what are you going to do? Who are we going to get? Are we going to get another goalie for him? Is Stolarz going to be the guy? What's the plan? That's my concern. It's like, what are you going to do? We had one guy ask us, Boaz. He asked, do you think they'll make the mistake of keeping Gibson and trading Stolarz? I don't know if that's a mistake. It depends on what direction are we going in the net. And yes, has Gibson been great this season? No, he has not been great. He's had some issues here and there, and then he's had other moments of flashes of greatness. So I don't think that that's a mistake to keep him. I think the thing is you have to figure out the plan. And what is the plan? I don't know. I'm not in Verbeek's head. I don't know what he's going to do. But just saying, he's not playing great, trade him. Well, the defense has had some serious issues. And I'm not trying to use that as a scapegoat, but the defense has had some problems. And the Ducks have been horrible on the penalty kill. They're at 66.3%, the bottom of the league. That's not helped out, too. They're giving up a lot of goals and taking too many penalties. They've been undisciplined, too. So those are some other things that need to be fixed. So to me, and we'll get into trades here in just a second. That's our next section. But in terms of the goalie thing, I think we've talked about this, Eddie. I would just leave it as it is. I would just, try to get Stolarz in there a few more games, because I talked about it on the last show about Gibson getting injured, and he damn well got nearly injured in that game against Seattle. And I sat there going, man, I shouldn't have said something on the show, man. I freaking jinxed it. And I was irritated with myself. But that's the reality. I just don't want them to overplay him at this point, Eddie.
And they have been overplaying him. They've been playing him a lot. It's not. I get it. You're a goalie. You want to play as many games as you can, but you have Stolarz. And you know what? The whole thing about showcasing, too. I want to see Klingberg and Shattenkirk get the most minutes possible out of the Ducks. Yeah, I know Fowler's playing. He's the best Ducks defenseman they have right now, but I want to showcase. I want to show other teams when they have their scouts watching, have their scouts attending games, to get a freaking Woody to see these. I no offense, but get a Woody to see these players play and maybe overpay, and we get the maximum return for each of these players that we're going to trade. Especially Klingberg is a rental. He was signed on for a rental, and you know what? I forgot to mention that. That might be a little hard too, because when Ducks first signed him, the whole reports were going out, oh, they signed him to a rental. There was only one report that came out saying that the Ducks might want to extend him, but the rest of the reports were saying he's a rental. So that can play little mind games here too, like to someone too. So it's like with Gibson too, Mike, and we had a lot of fan questions. You got to figure out what you want and talk to Gibson and see what he wants too. We have a rebuild. We have a goalie in Dostal that seems like he's going to be a really great goalie in the future. Stolarz is not going to be our starter goalie for the future. I'm sorry to say that. He's not. Maybe for another team. I can't see that. He's been playing well. He hasn't got enough games to make that determination if he can be a legitimate starter and superstar goalie in the NHL. But Gibson's at a whole other level. If we trade Gibson, we're going to get a freaking huge return for him. Maybe not as much as we would have gotten if we traded him a season ago or 2 seasons ago, but it's just Gibson is not the problem. The problem is a lot more. And like I said before, just patience. But we have to just, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think, like I said, I put Stolarz in there for some more starts. That way Gibson doesn't get broken. We've seen stuff like that happen. That's I think what you got to do with that, and unless you have a plan, if you're trying to go out and trade for another goalie or Dostal's going to come up or whatever you're going to do, how are you going to figure that out? So
yeah, but who's out there and gold that you can trade to replace Gibson that you want for the future? There's not really options out there that teams are going to do that for. Like, it's just, why would they trade their? I think a Kerry Smith from New Jersey's been playing lights out too. Like, he's like his last rookie goalie, 4 starts, 4 wins. He seems like the real deal. But it's just like, why are you going to do that right now and make that kind of big move? And it just doesn't make sense. I think you should, like you said, give Stolarz more starts, take the pressure off Gibson, and showcase him. The whole point right now is, like, we all know we're salaries, so showcase as many players as you can and go from there.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, who would you trade for? Exactly. That's my point. That's why, like, what's your plan? I mean, is there someone you're really going to trade Gibson for another goalie and get? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what it would seem to be, unless you were going to say, hey, no, Dostal's the dude. He's going to come up, or him and Stolarz are going to split, or whatever they're going to do. So I just leave it. I wouldn't mess with the goalie thing. That's just leave it.
Well, I would trade Stolarz and get assets for him, because I don't think he's going to re-sign with the Ducks next season, especially with the limited play he's getting this season. I think he has some value as a backup goalie, especially for a contending team that wants that kind of depth in goalie. They just leave Gibson where he's at and let him. It seems like he's happy with the Ducks, regardless of how bad they're doing and how many shots he's getting per game. But I think he's probably the goalie of the future. You have him signed up, locked up. Let's see what we have in Dostal, and if Dostal outplays him, then we can go that route and go from there. But like you said, just leave it alone. And Stolarz is probably one of those players that's going to be gone at the deadline. I'd be surprised if he's still here after the deadline.
Yeah, I'm with you. I remember we talked about that on the last show too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're just going to keep riding Gibson and only play him a little bit, then that's something to consider, especially come the trade deadline. One last little question that I just wanted to add, we'll talk about, because it's just kind of an interesting one about the team here, and then we'll move on to the trades. But we had T. Aromo 1015 on Instagram. He asked about Terry Zegras, and he said, is he too immature playing in the NHL, and should he be in the AHL? I thought it was an interesting question because you don't really hear this from Ducks fans too much. I mean, at least from what I've seen, but you do hear this from some other people I've seen on social media saying, talking smack on Zegras and his personality. But what do you think about this, Eddie?
I think it was a really good question, and a player's immaturity doesn't determine if they're going to play in the NHL or AHL. Obviously, if they do something to screw up, you can just send them down to get a few games. I know Brian Burke sent Getzlaf and Perry down just for the hell of it, because they bought new cars. That was way back in the day when they were rookies. They bought new cars, and he just wanted to send them a message. But the whole league has changed. I don't think he's immature at all. He makes mistakes. He's still developing. It's his sophomore season. technically. So it's just it's going to happen with players. He has an exuberant personality. He's out there. The game is changing, so players that come with that personality, it's part of the game changing. I don't think he's too immature to handle responsibilities in NHL. His interviews, he's always just a team-first guy, blames himself for things. He gets frustrated. He's a competitor. He definitely does not belong in the AHL one bit at all. He would just, that would be just the worst decision any coach can make, unless far from he does some off-ice issues, which he seems like he has a really good head on his shoulders listening to him talk on other podcasts, like Spittin' Chicklets that I listen to. He just, all he does is wants to keep to himself, play video games, watch the sunset from his house. He's a new breed of hockey player who changes the game, and he's not too immature to play in the NHL. He's going to make mistakes. He's still a kid. We have to understand that, even though his play style, but he's still young. So we have to really take that into consideration. But no, like immaturity-wise, I think he's really mature for his age, and he can handle responsibilities. I know people have asked before when I had the whole captain thing, the whole captain article of him. I'm not saying he shouldn't be a captain because of his immaturity or a mature level. I just want him to develop properly and not have the extra responsibility of having the team on his shoulders just yet. This guy is a franchise player, and he's going to be he's probably going to have his number retired, if I can say that, on the Ducks one day when he decides to retire. That's how good he is, and it's instilling. He's not even touching the potential of what he has right now. Zegras is going to be one of those franchise players that's going to lead this team to a Stanley Cup one day. I guarantee I can say that right now. But yeah, I don't think he's too immature to be playing to the NHL. And if he ever goes to the AHL, gets sent down, Aikens and Verbeek should be fired for that move, unless he does something that's going to be hindering the Ducks or are bringing bad publicity to the Ducks on an off-ice level.
Yeah, I think that's the worst thing to do. There's no question. You're not going to send him to the AHL. I don't think he's immature. I just think he's been inconsistent lately, and that's kind of what Verbeek talked about on the Duck stream and to the media and whatnot. Is he's just been inconsistent, and he's been making some mistakes here and there. Part of the growing pains of going through this game. But I'm with you. He's supposed to be a future part of this team, a future core part of this team, and whether or not he's captain down the road or not. I mean, I don't know. It seems like Verbeek's going to wait on that too. But I'm fine with what he's doing. I mean, he's going to make some mistakes. There's going to be some things that aren't going to go well. So,
he's still a rookie. Like I said, his sophomore. Look at Detroit Cedar. He barely has his first or second goal of the season. He's been underplaying over there. He won the Calder Trophy or Rookie of the Year last season. It's part of it. Like when rookies come in this league, players don't know who the hell they are, so they give him more leverage, and they don't cover him as hard. Now Zegras made a name for himself. He's pretty much the face of the NHL right now with the cover and what he's been doing. Teams take notice of that, and they're covering him harder. He's going to make mistakes. He has more pressure on him. It's called a sophomore slump for a reason. It's not just him. All the players that had their sophomore season come into that. Look at Nathan MacKinnon. He's probably one of the best players in the world, if not the second best player in the world. He had a sophomore slump too. It happens. These players are finding their game. They're finding their groove. They're finding who they are and developing. The key word is developing. So we can't just write him off for the mistake. He's going to make mistakes. It's a given. He's not going to be the player that he was last season. He's not going to get away with the moves he made last season. This season's different. Players are keen to him. They're on to him. They're going to pressure him more. So we have to be just let him ride out. Let him find his game. And trust me, this player is special. He's going to take the lead by the storm, which he already is.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said, I don't really have anything to add other than, he's got 20 points in 23 games. So, I mean, he's not doing horrible, and I don't think he's immature. I think he just has a fun personality. So,
I love it. And his hair is awesome, too. So, throw it out there.
That always is
awesome flow. Awesome flow.
Yeah,
that's important.
That's always important, too. All right, with that, we're going to start getting towards the end of the show. We're going to talk about a couple little trade rumors going on and then some league news. So before that, don't forget to check out Fanatics. We're a affiliate with them. you can go to our Twitter and our pinned tweet. There's a link there. Click on it, and they've been doing all kinds of sales all Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I think they still have stuff going on. So if you're looking for some Ducks gear on there, check out fanatics.com. Okay, so some trade stuff that's come up lately. Kind of interesting. There's another podcast out there, and I don't know, this guy just talks about trades. I just saw someone post it and they were talking about it, but the Pearl of Wisdom is the name of the podcast. You can check it out. I don't know what the guy's real name is, but that's what he goes by. But he talks about Timo Meier and the fact that he's not going to come back to the Sharks. It sounds like there's been a bunch of reports out there about him, and he talks about 6 different teams that he thinks he could go to, and he mentions the Ducks as one of the teams. So I thought that was interesting, Eddie. Whether or not the Ducks would go for him, he's a guy that plays wing. He scored 35 goals last season. Obviously, he can add offense to the team. His cap hits $6 million. He got paid $10 million his last year. The Ducks have cap space; they can take him on. And then he talks about possible trade. He thinks. I don't necessarily agree, but he says a second-round pick and then some kind of player, maybe like a Max Comtois, could do that kind of trade. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I saw people talking about it. That's why I threw it on here as a trade thing that had come up, just because there's already rumors swirling that he's not going to come back to the Sharks and he's going to be on the market. And now this guy mentioned the Ducks. But what do you think? I mean, obviously I would like to have the guy on the team and help the team out, but do you think that that's really a possibility?
No, and I would pass on it. And I've heard this rumor come up too. I don't think he's going to come back to the Sharks next season. He'll find a new home. He's going to get paid. But stranger things have happened. I think the Sharks' main mentality or focus right now is trading Carlson and his 11.2 or 11.5 cap hit. He's been the best defensive player in the league. He's been he had a resurge of energy or something. He's been playing lights out. So I think that the Sharks are main focus on getting the maximum return for him to help their rebuild process too. The Sharks are 30,000 to 1 to win the Pacific Division too, same as the Ducks. So you can tell what the odds are of them actually coming up and winning. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Sharks' main focus is unloading that $11.5 million cap hit from Erik Karlsson and getting a huge return for him. That's going to be the best return they get. And then Vlasic, too, makes about $7+ million a year, only has 6 points this season in 26 games. He's been underperforming. I think if they can unload both those contracts, it might pay dividends for them and help their rebuild process. I don't think he's coming to the Ducks, and I don't think it's going to take a second and Comtois to come to the Ducks. And I think I follow him on Facebook, and I have followed his YouTube page too. So yeah, it's good. It's good thought process, but I don't think it's going to do it for the Sharks. And I think their main focus is trying to get the max return for Karlsson and trying to figure out to do it Vlasic moving forward, and they can worry about Timo Meier, whatever the hell his name. I can't even know his name. He sounds like a Duck already. No, I think they can worry about him at the trade deadline. I think he'll. I think a team that takes a chance on him and the way he's been playing, they're going to want to sign him long term, and I don't think he's in a long term solution for the Ducks. So I'd do a pass on him.
Yeah, that's my thing. I just don't know, he want a long-term contract and how much and yada, yada, yada. That's the thing. I mean, yeah, would he be on the team? Would he help out the team? Yeah, of course he would, but...
Well, he's going to make about, $8+ million. Look at Hertl. Like everyone thought the Sharks were going to sign Hertl, and they signed him. So he's probably going to want a similar contract to that, maybe more because the cap's going up next season. And I don't think it's a chance to take for the Ducks for right now. I don't think that the Ducks next season will be a contending team next season. So why bring in players that are going to help you just get a 20th overall pick? It just doesn't make sense to me unless significant changes are made to the Ducks and strides are made. But as of right now, I don't see that. So it's a pass for me.
Well, yeah, and the Ducks have to figure out some of the contracts coming up too, like Zegras and Terry and whatnot. So I mean,
he's getting paid.
Well, yeah,
Zegras is getting paid. Terry is getting paid.
Well,
they both are.
Well, and that's the thing. You're going to bring in a guy that's going to cost $1 bazillion. That's why I just don't see it happening. I just thought it was interesting. I just want to throw it out there. If you guys want to check out that guy's page, he does shows And it basically, he just picks up players that are most likely going to be traded, and he just throws out scenarios of where they're going to go. So,
shall we? We should hit him up, bring him on the show, talk some trades. You guys love trades, fans go crazy for trade talk. I've noticed that because every time we mention trades, fans go nuts. It's funny, it's crazy, but. Hey, we're here to talk about it. And if you guys have any trades or if you guys have any players that you want to see on the Ducks and think of potential trades, send us a DM and we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
Why not?
Absolutely. Another one we had on there was Hector Torres. He asked about Tanner Yano. What do you think about this guy in Nashville, Eddie? He was saying bring him in for Terry and Zegras.
Kind of pass. I think Nashville has a different system than the Ducks do right now. And then they're in a different capability, so I would kind of pass on him. Right now, I would pass on him. You know what? Just like at top of my head, which we didn't talk about, a player that's been underperforming, that's not really working with the system, is Connor Garland from Vancouver. He's been regressed to the third line. He had a really successful season with Arizona, and I know Duck fans are aware of him. He's been the thorn in the Ducks, but he can score. He brings that physicality. I think I can see him on the top line playing with Terry and Zegras and providing that offensive spark. He's kind of a 2.0 Comtois. So that's one player that I would like to see take a chance on, but his cap hit's too big and he's been really underperforming. He's not had success in Vancouver at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one to look at. I'm with you, I'm not really sure. Then you had Larry Goubeau. He asked about Dante Fabro or Alec Martinez. As far as defensive help, what do you think about those two guys, Eddie?
Great question. Alec Martinez, we can probably get on a cheap deal because Vegas is mismanagement on their players and with the cap they have and the players, they have players coming back from, they're trading everyone for future considerations. And you know what? I want to throw this out there. I find it so disrespectful and it's appalling, and I'm offended that my favorite player future consideration is traded. Like, he's passed around like someone that gets paid to do things that shouldn't be legal. That's pissing me off a little bit. No, and all jokes aside, Alec Martinez leads the league in block shots, and the Ducks need that. But why are we going to bring someone right now to help the Ducks get higher in the standings? It doesn't make sense to me. Right now, the Ducks are, as bad as it sounds, in a prime position to get their self out of a rebuild process. All I want, it'll be a fail if the Ducks get lower than a top 3 pick this season. Martinez would be a really good asset to the Ducks if they were in that middle ground or a contending team, especially the amount of shots that he blocks. And we can capitalize on the fact that Vegas has mismanaged their whole cap situation. And we can probably get him for less than what it would have cost if they had the cap space. But just right now, I think we should just wait and see, and we should just trade for assets, trade for the future, and not just trade for a couple wins here and there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it would be interesting to bring in Alec Martinez. I think he would help the team and whatnot. But like you said, you're trying to rebuild this team, not speed it up necessarily, and you're also worried about the draft. So I would keep an eye on him, though, because like you said, the Vegas cap situation is all jacked up, so they're going to have to do some stuff too. So that's another team to see, what they're going to do. So a couple of teams in the division: San Jose, Vancouver, and Vegas.
LA too.
Yeah.
Their quote unquote franchise goalie of the future, Cal Peterson, got put on waivers today. After he's starting his 3-year, $5 million AAV contract, they put him on waivers. I guess, I don't know, it wasn't his fault last game or yesterday when they lost 9-8 to Seattle. That was a wild game. Like, I don't know if you saw it or if you watched the highlights, but that game was just totally wild. And I have Kopitar, unfortunately, on my fantasy hockey team. He only had 2 points out of the 8 goals that he scored. But yeah, LA's in a funk too. They don't have solidified goalies, and right now I think they're playing on just winded dreams. I think reality's going to set with LA, and they're going to be a really bottom feeder team too. Yes, they have offense that's sparking. They can score goals, but their defense is atrocious in their goaltending. Quick is done. He's holding the team together, and you just waived your potentially franchise goalie. So it's shit time for LA. So I can't wait they're the bottom of the standings, but I'm glad that they're up where they are because they're not going to get a high draft pick. They'll probably squeak in the playoffs and get bounced out the first round and get that mid-level pick.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's an interesting situation with him getting sent on waivers. Very curious to see what's going to happen in LA too. So there's going to be, I think, a lot of movement in the Pacific Division come the next couple of months and leading up to the trade deadline. So just keep your eye on those teams. These guys, I don't think these particular players will necessarily come our way, but hey, there's some players out there to think about and see where they may move. So with that, we'll wrap up with the league news. Finish off the show here. A little bit of more Ducks news and league news. Eddie, you have Scott Niedermayer is joining Canada's coaching team for the Spangler Cup. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, he'll be a good asset to them. And the Spangler Cup was actually created. I guess there was opposing sides. It's actually an invitation only, hosted by a team in Switzerland. Dr. Carl Spangler created the tournament to promote unity and contact between nations who were on opposing sides during the First World War. Say that 3 times. It's hosted in Switzerland. It's going to be played. It's been played outdoors each year since 1979. So it's like invitation only. So it's going to be good that Scott Niedermayer is going to be joining the coaching staff on that. Maybe it's kind of foreshadowing maybe in the future that he wants to maybe be ready to join an Anaheim Ducks coaching staff. Who knows? But good luck to him, and hope Canada takes that.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Should be. He's going to definitely help them out for sure. A little bit of sad news that it actually just came up today while we were recording. Pittsburgh's the other team that I like to follow, and you had Letang going out with a second stroke, and they don't know if he's going to finish the season or if his career's done or what's going on, Eddie. And I mean, man, just unfortunate. That guy's been through so much. This is the second time that he had a stroke. And I just couldn't believe it when I saw the news today. And I just feel bad. I mean, my heart goes out to him and his entire family. And whether he's able to play or not, I mean, it's inconsequential at this point. I just hope he's okay, Eddie.
Yeah, it sucks to see that. I always want to see a player go out on his own accord, but dude, it's your second stroke. Like, your family and your quality of life comes before the game. I know it's really hard, tough pill to swallow, but I mean, you can't. I don't know. It's hard, but I wish him the best. My thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, and I hope that he can, doctors or something, to figure out what's going on with him, and he can either come back to the game healthy, or he can just he can leave the game on his own accord and go forward from there. But I wish him all the best, to him and his family, the Pittsburgh organization, and their fans.
And your favorite team, Minnesota. I guess some bad texting going on over there. You want to talk about, Eddie?
Oh yeah, Kaprizov. Like, I guess it was his first season. This story was from 2 years ago, and I don't know why it just popped up, but it was funny. So he was playing with Group B, like all the AHLers, East Coast, like just invites. He went to text the captain, Jarrett Spurgeon, about like, how he wants to play with the best players, not fucking shit players. But he texted the group chat instead. So it's like, and I guess he texted in Russian too, so like all the players had to like translate it. And the whole thing of it is like everyone just like, what Spurgeon was talking about, how it got all the team connected and everyone starts talking about it, and like people that wouldn't normally talk in the group chat were like commenting. And so, I mean, it was a mistake by him, but it just kind of brought the team together. And then I guess that next day he went in for training camp. He walked in with his head down, all embarrassed. So I think that's kind of a funny story.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny is I've seen that too at work with different things too. So it's like, you got to be careful when you have those texts and you have different groups.
Oh, dude, we've all done it. I've texted group chats accidentally, like, holy shit, did I really say that? Oh, the group chat, damn it.
Yeah, just that's the lesson with that story. Let's see. Another one that was kind of interesting was the whole thing with Columbus. Let's talk about that, Eddie, and how they may or may not have lost a player because he got lowballed.
Yeah, well, Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, People were so like the Flames fans are so butthurt about that and saying like, oh, he just left and blah blah blah. But apparently, the Flames offered him a contract, but lowballed the hell out of what he was worth. And he said if they would have offered him, or actually his parents came out and said that if they would have given him a contract that was a fair value to what his potential was, that he would have stood a Flame and been there for 8 years, but they didn't. So it's just this game is a business. You have to understand that these players want to capitalize and make the most money they can. Yes, you have players like Bergeron will take less money, and Marchand from Boston, they both take like less money, but this, I think it's bad business practice. I get the loyalty and respect for their team and their hockey club. I get that, but like, just think of right now what job you're working. I don't care if you're a high schooler listening to this podcast, working for fast food, or you're a CEO of some company. You want to be paid what you're worth, and if someone pays you less and wants to like keep you on and pay you less, it's bad practice. So I think the Flames fans need to just relax, and the Flames just their bad mismanagement didn't retain Gaudreau. But you know what? Look who they have. They have Huberdeau and they have Kadri. So they'll be fine, but it's one of those stories. So like, I guess their parents are a little pissed off, and you know what? Don't ever mess with a mom and dad of a player, or mom and dad. We all know how they are. They're going to defend their son regardless, or daughter. So it's just the Flames kind of screwed that over, and you know what? It's working out for the Flames. They got better players, and Gaudreau's kind of struggling. He's up and down with Columbus, but he'll find his game. He's a really good player.
Yeah, just interesting to see the parents get in on that and then say that, hey, he would have stayed, you know. So it's just kind of funny to see that get kind of aired out. You don't always hear that kind of stuff. So very interesting. But yeah, not wise to piss off the parents.
Yeah, definitely not.
And then the GMs had a meeting, and what was this discussion, Eddie? They were talking about something about 2-minute power play, shootout. Like, what are they talking about possibly changing for the league next season or in the future?
Well, yeah, Gary Bettman, I guess, like suggested this. Like, this guy needs to go. He's just, I don't know, but they want to consider when a team takes when a team gets awarded a power play, either they can take a power play or a shootout opportunity, which is just, I think it's just stupid. Stop changing this game. I think he has to go. I'm not trying to be political, but like he seems like he's just trying to be woke into like the whole like political aspect he dived in back in the past, and then what he's doing to keep changing the game. I've read reports about him telling the referees to be engaged more, so to stop the fights. It seems like he's ruining this game. Like, dude, you never played a single effing game in your life. Don't give like what are you gonna talk about? Like, why you keep changing? This game was perfect. This game is awesome. Why are you gonna keep changing it? To give an opportunity to a shootout or a power play it's just stupid. I think it's time for him to go. His mismanagement of Arizona too. I mean, it's just I don't know why he's still here, and now I know why fans boo him every single year when he like delivers a Stanley Cup. I think he's a piece of shit. He needs to go. We need someone that's gonna grow this game. There's a lot of problems with this game still. And I don't think he's the future, and just him trying to change his game consistently is just even more proof that he's not capable of running this league right. And it's wonder why that the National Hockey League is still one of the lowest rated and lowest professional sports teams ever in the United States.
Yeah, I don't like this whole thing with 2 minutes or shootout, whatever. It should just be like it is, how it is now. Just leave that alone. And yeah, I'm with you as far as they need to have a new GM. I mean, a new commissioner. Sorry, losing my mind here. Wrapping up the show. Yeah, they need to have a new commissioner. Just change it up. He's been in there for so long. It's time to have a fresh face, like you said. So I'm with you with that whole sentiment. We'll end on a feel good story, Eddie. Let's talk about Toronto's Marner and his dog, Zeus.
Yes, so Marner, he was asked why he puts a Z on his stick and gloves, and he talked about his dog, Zeus. And he loves his dog. He's like, how many kids or anything? And he says that his dog doesn't have a damn clue what he does for a living and doesn't have a damn clue what anyone thinks about him. He just loves his dad for buzzing around and loving him. I think that was an awesome story. He just loves his dog, and I'm a big animal person. us at Ducks and Pucks, we're going to post it more, but we're affiliates with OC Animal Care. We try to share their stories and get dogs adopted from them too. But I think this was I just put a little stint in my heart right there. Like I love Marner even more for his love for the dog, and what my article I wrote too on Thanksgiving about if Toronto was going to make a big move and they want a big elite goalie to bring in Gibson, it's going to be Marner would be one of them. And now it's like I even want Marner even more, especially because he has that Z for Zeus. So I think this is awesome. I love dogs, and like I said, if you guys are listening, check out OC Animal Care. Share their stories, share their dogs. They have dogs of the week all the time, and if you guys are looking for a pet, I think the best route to do is adopt, because these animals, dogs, cats, all they want to do is love. They don't want anything in return. They want love and affection, and they'll give you unconditionally love and affection too.
Yeah, amen. I agree 100%. It's a good story. I love stuff about pets like this. So just the way to end up the show. But man, a long one. We covered a lot of ground in this show. I knew this was going to be a long one. So thanks for sticking with us. We went over a lot of different stuff. I'll still put the timestamps in there so you can go, look at the sections you want to review and talk about. Thanks for all the support. Like I said, you guys have been great at the games, cheering on the Ducks. Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe. You can join our patreon.com/DucksNPucks. We're also on youtube.com/DucksNPucks podcast, so check us out there as well. And we'll keep doing these shows each week. That's kind of how we've been doing it, either Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when they've been playing the games. But appreciate all the support, and let's go Ducks.